To kick off the evening, we have a special guest, a very special guest this evening. And to introduce this very special lady, I'm going to hand over to our regional training manager, Sue Stride.
Well, hello everyone, and I'm sure we're going to have a fabulous night tonight, but we have got a special guest, and her name is Joanna, and she's from Tewkesbury Fields, and she's going to tell you a story of what happened to her during the war. So please put your hands together and welcome Joanna.
I hope you can hear me. If you can't, wave.
Yeah,
right.
Bit closer, bit closer.
I'll talk about like this then. I'm quite likely to get too excited and start talking so fast that you can't hear me. If that happens, put your hand up. Or put your hands in your ears. I was lucky enough in one way, and not in many others, to be in the Wrens at a time when coding was very much needed, or decoding. And so I was at Bletchley Park. I lived at Woburn Abbey in great grandeur, and still go there and look up at the roof where I used to sunbathe. And then I worked, and we went by bus every day to Bletchley. And there we did a great many things that we hadn't the faintest idea what we were doing. And it was only until 40 years after, and this is true, that I really knew what I'd been doing. It was so secret. It was what Hitler was sending to his generals, the messages that Hitler himself was sending to his generals. And it got that we were so good of them by the end of the war that I expect you've all heard this. Our generals used to get the messages before Hitler's. Now, at Bletchley, you will see a machine called a Colossus. And that was the thing on which we broke the messages. It was like a large bedstead with a sort of contraption round it, and a board with lots of numbers and switches and things on. I went back to have a look at it about a month ago and wondered how on earth I'd worked it, because it certainly didn't look as though anyone would be able to get any sense out of it at all. So it must have been a very clever machine anyway to be able to decode Hitler's messages to his generals. The other thing was that for security reasons, you didn't know anyone's proper name. You only knew them by their Christian name. So there were Allens and Davids and Jonathans and all that sort of thing. And afterwards, you discovered that they really were quite important people. At least, you know, sounded it important to me because I knew what they were doing. Someone called Alan Turing, for instance, who was, you've heard of him? Good, marvellous. He was a wonderful man and brilliant, and he invented two different machines, but the best of them was a thing called Colossus. And it was colossal. It was very big. It was as big as the thing that's on that stage down there, plus a bit. So, and it was worked from various switchboards and things, but that actually decoded Hitler's messages from his Hitler himself, his personal messages, to his generals. And some of them were incredibly long, and some of them were very, very short. We discovered afterwards that the very, very long ones were actually not from Hitler at all. They were lists of clothing that the soldiers needed if they were going to go and fight in Africa. So it wasn't as important as we thought it was. Now, the thing that I think we're probably all proudest of is that Churchill called us the geese that didn't gaggle. And we thought we were very proud of that because we did not talk. And as I say, until 40 years after the war, people didn't know what we were doing, which I think is quite a long time to keep a secret. And even now, it's daft, I know, but I have a sense of guilt when I start talking about it. I think perhaps I've talked enough now, and I hope that you're going to enjoy the rest of everything else that's going to be said. I wasn't told exactly what I was to talk about, so I'm afraid I've done my best.